Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's Monday. It's live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll have JC here in just a second. We'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. If you want to shoot us a text on the Titan MR text line, feel free to do it. It's 352-353-7465. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hey, hotline, man. It's hot. I'm scorching hot. Woo!
Let me tell you something.
So hot.
There's a lot to talk about. First of all, JC.
Yes, sir.
It's a good thing that Sully and them, I know they had a team meeting and they had to decide if they wanted to go to Baton Rouge and play or not. But they decided to get on the bus and they drove there and they just took 2 out of 3, run ruled them, and went back to back to back. They hit a ton of home runs there.
Jimmy, did they actually bust there?
They may have bust to Baton Rouge because it's not that far. So they bust. Well, I don't know 100% sure, but they do bust to a lot of baseball trips.
Okay. Well, you're right. 4-2 now in the league, and look at the defending national champions who are 2-4. Okay, and it is a good thing they just decided to go. I mean, we basically told them. We basically told, hey, how about them Clemson Tigers? Oh, there goes Sam from South Carolina just screaming about his Clemson Tigers. Yeah, the Gator baseball team is alive. It's fine. 4-2 in the league. Defending national champions are 2-4. It's still very early, guys. I wouldn't push the panic button, but hey, man, Gators opened up on them. Those bats really woke up at the box. So
and then softball sweeps Kentucky. They are rolling right now, playing really, really well.
Cool.
Obviously, basketball loses a heartbreaker. What a basketball game that was. A track meet, tremendous comeback, and could have easily advanced, but they didn't. Give Colorado credit. I mean, it was, people, as Brandon says, another foul on Florida right now. It was the officiating in this entire tournament. If you watched any yesterday, the game between Grand Canyon and Alabama was like something that you would see at the YMCA.
It was.
Jerry says, Shane, you were wrong about us in football and now basketball. Okay, Jerry?
Shane.
Jerry, here's what I got to say to Jerry. Jerry, did you watch sports? There are a lot of teams that lost. Not everybody's going to win. If you think it was a failure in basketball, you're clueless. That was a damn good team, and Colorado just played well. So, speaking of that.
Yeah, I think what Jerry really wants to say is, damn, 17 straight possessions, they couldn't stop these guys from scoring. And it's a shame, when you score.
Well, they couldn't stop us either.
Right. When you score 100 points, you want to win, man. And it's just a heartbreaker. The guy hit a shot on the baseline in the last possession. It literally came down to who had the ball last. And Clayton was, he gave you all he had, man. I mean, the guy couldn't miss.
He's freaking phenomenal, man. He's a hell of a player.
He's going to be a real exciting guy. Hopefully, is he done? He's coming back, right?
Well, he's got one more year of eligibility. Who knows what that means?
Who knows? I don't know.
North Florida Bear on YouTube has common sense. He says a great season for the basketball team. I agree 1,000%. They were a fun team to watch, and we'll have an entire new team next year through the portal. But Todd Gold and his staff know what they're doing. We got a text here, JC. I got to read this one to you. This is great. There's a million of them. I can't read everybody's. This is from wherever 984. Maybe this is the dude that just criticized. But I don't know where 984 area code is. But he says,
very important.
How can you come on a podcast and give us these silly upset picks for the NCAA tournament? Tell us the Gators are a good basketball team. You are completely clueless. You and JC have no idea when it comes to sports. Complete idiots. Okay, let me back up here, JC. Hang on. I picked 4 lower seeds in huge upsets, okay, in round one. McNeese State, Sanford, Grand Canyon, and James Madison, okay? 4. Two of them won. 3 of the 4 covered the spread. So I would say that's very successful.
Well, I have a bracket here, folks, and I picked all 1s and 2s in the Final Four, and I got 12 teams in the Sweet 16. So I'm not quite in idiot level yet, but I do have.
Well, 12, whoever this is,
I got 12 idiot. Out of 16, 984. What's going on in Raleigh? You know what it is? 984 sitting there in Raleigh, and he's thinking, "Man, my NC State Wolfpack dominate. They're so good," and they are still alive, and so he's excited. But old JC here, who's never played basketball in his life, has got 12 teams left in the Sweet 16. Okay, so I always felt like, yeah, you're going to have a couple of upsets, QB. Everybody and every year sees that. But I think this really was a year meant for chalk. I mean, I don't think there's anything that can compete with UConn in the East. And Iowa State's going to make it a nice little game, but they're not going to beat UConn. And
I don't know if Iowa State's going to beat Illinois.
Okay, and then Purdue. You talk about a bus trip. That literally is a bus trip from West Lafayette to Indianapolis. Of course it is. And Houston. They had Texas A&M under control, but that was a game for the ages. And the Aggies, give them credit, under Buzz Williams, came back, made it exciting, hit a shot at the buzzer to force overtime, and both teams survived the whistle fest. It was a whistle orgy. Every possession in the Grand Canyon, Alabama game, literally, I think, had a whistle under the basket because they were just wrecking into each other, I guess, or they were calling it tight. But Alabama and Tennessee are the only 2 SEC teams left, folks. So, if you care about the SEC, you may not care, but I'm rooting for those 2 because Tennessee's going to have to really strap it up against Creighton, who won an epic game against the Oregon Ducks, somehow hit a shot and stayed alive, and then Alabama in an absolute rock fight against those Grand Canyon Antelopes. And the Lopes fans were on hand at Spokane. You got to really hand it to them. That's not a close play. It's not close from Phoenix to Spokane, and they showed up to root on their Lopes. So it was a very exciting game to watch, I think.
Yeah, that was a really good basketball game. And what's amazing is Grand Canyon kept it close.
5 assists.
Grand Canyon, if they had anybody that could shoot the basketball, they were one of the worst shooting teams I've ever seen.
But QB,
in that game, I should say in that game.
Right, in that game. But they had no fear about going to the basket. They only had, think about this. When was the last basketball game you ever watched, QB, where there were 5 assists? They had 5 assists. Think about that for a minute. Just think about what we're talking about here. In 40 minutes of playing, there were only 5 assists. I find that extraordinary. And it was really tight there until Alabama went on a 10-0 run, I think it was, at the very end of the game to hold on. Mark Sears was amazing for them, as was this Diabate guy, Mohamed Diabate for Alabama. And they survived, but, they got to play North Carolina now. And so if you stay with the chalk theme, North Carolina's going to move on and end up playing UConn. So that's a tough not UConn. They'll end up playing probably Arizona, And then if they win in that game out in Los Angeles, which will be a tall order, they will get a chance to play UConn. So,
all right. Here's another text on the Titan and More text line from some dude named PVBBG. Said you and JC had a lot of bad calls on Friday's game, saying the Dukes were going to beat Duke. Clemson doesn't belong. Guess your humble fans can pick as good as the expert. Well, these people are close. Okay. Look, first of all, James Madison got blown out, but Duke shot better than they shot the entire year. Clemson barely made the tournament. And here's the story of the thing is NC State, who is an 11 seed in their own conference tournament. That's why it goes to show you that's why March Madness is so great, because March Madness, usually a lot of times the best team does not win the tournament.
Right.
It's whoever gets hot.
It's one game. If you put, QB, listen, if you put some of these games that we missed, some of these teams, this is what March Madness is about. It's one game. It's not best out of 7. I think that like they have in the NBA, But listen, we did pick some good games. I mean,
no, we did. I mean, look, I'm just reading these texts because I think these people are
like
morons.
it. I don't mind. Let them call me a moron. I'll tell you this: I got 12 still alive in the Sweet 16 morons. So I'm a moron, but morons got 12 teams still alive, and I would be very comfortable with UConn, NC, North Carolina, Purdue, and Houston. Although I think Tennessee is going to beat Purdue, even though I picked Purdue. So
yeah, a lot of people here are talking about Trevor Etienne getting a DUI and he's in trouble up at Georgia.
4 a.m., 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, Uber these days, I don't know, QB, I got this app. I want to show you something. And I'm going to hope that maybe Trevor's watching this morning. There is this cool ass app. It's called, watch this, watch what happens. And there's two of them. This is called Uber. See that? Well, there it goes. Look, it opens up for you. And all you have to do is, it's amazing. But 19 years old, I guess he never heard of it. So
Andy asked, is Billy a positive impact on players off the field, or is ETN just stupid?
Uber.
All I can say is I don't know if anybody's gotten in trouble since Billy Napier's been the coach here that I can think of off the field.
Point.
So
good point.
Yeah, Billy's a good man. Whether people like him or not, I think he's a good football coach too, and hopefully things turn around this year. Michael says on Facebook Live, brought to you by, this is on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. The ball bouncing in and out, up and down, wasted about 2 seconds that we could have set up a better shot at the end. He's talking about the last play that Colorado knocked down, the baseline jumper that just boing, boing, boing.
Yeah,
boing,
it went in, guys. It went in.
So,
you know what?
Look, it was a hell of a basketball game. Game.
I think it was the first really white knuckler we had up to that point in the tournament when it was played at the time. And the Gators did not fold. They fell behind and came back, but they could not stop 44. And they could not stop those 17 straight possessions that Colorado scored on. And Colorado, I think, had played their second game in 3 days at that time. And they ran out of gas yesterday or whenever they just lost, playing their third game in 4 days.
They actually were down 11 at half to Marquette and came back and took a lead.
On Marquette. Sure did. Yes, they did.
Marquette. Another text here on the Titan of our text line from Josh in Mississippi says, why did Florida lose on your opinion, and what has been the biggest upset or two overall in your opinion? Well, Florida lost to, a team that played well. I told you we matched up well with Colorado. I knew it was going to be a track beat. Same type of teams. Just look, you can't win every game. And I thought we were going to win that game. And gosh, they played hard.
I thought
the biggest upset would probably be Yale, I would think, beating Auburn.
Yes. That one, along with the Kentucky game, I think was pretty big.
Oakland. Speaking of that, JC, I don't know if you saw Greg Campy, their coach, after that game.
I did see it.
Maybe it was the next day. His quote, I screenshot it here because it was hilarious. He says, this says, Oakland's coach, Greg Campy, said the school sold $8,000 worth of T-shirts to people whose credit cards matched the Louisville zip code. He goes, I don't know if or when Louisville and Kentucky play next year, but the Louisville people are going to show up in Oakland shirts. $8,000 worth of T-shirts from Oakland.
As a 1986 graduate of Alabama, I ordered a Yale hat. I'll be wearing Yale as I drive through South Alabama here next time it happens, whenever that is. But listen, March Madness is great. It lived up to its name. I got an answer as to why, the East was so loaded and why it had to do with proximity. They wanted Iowa State to play in Omaha. They wanted that for proximity purposes. And I don't know, man. Auburn and Alabama playing in Spokane. Okay. But hats off to Grand Canyon. That was a hell of a game. It wore you out watching it, man. And the Houston-Texas A&M game was the same thing, basically, especially at the end. The Aggies, the athletes on the court in the Houston-Texas A&M game was probably the best I've seen 10 guys on a court, athletically speaking, because they were absolutely flying in that game. And Houston is alive and kicking, man. And now they're going to Dallas, Texas. And I think Purdue, if they beat Tennessee somehow, will have an issue with Houston if they end up playing them. Purdue's in Detroit. That is a nice advantage for them. But Houston and Dallas seems a little bit almost unfair. I think Houston's gonna get to the Final Four.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer
I
service
like
by providing
proximity.
quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got JC on the Titanmore hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We'll talk with Scott Carter about softball, baseball, basketball, all that stuff with the Gators.
Well,
A lot of people say here, if we'd had Micah Handlocked and we win the game, maybe, maybe not. I mean,
he may have been able to post up 44, but 44 had his way with us in the key.
yeah, but I mean, look, injuries happen. A lot of teams like Houston. Houston, like two of Houston's better players are not playing because they're
they're
out for the
playing
year.
7. They're playing, I think, 7
Yeah.
small, and that's about it. I think Iowa State is a great team. Iowa State, Illinois, great Midwestern battle there. Big 12 versus Big 10. I think you'll enjoy that. That's going to be in Boston, Massachusetts, and Arizona playing in Los Angeles. I think is an advantage for them. They'll have a lot of fans, and it's not far to travel. Alabama, they make them play on Sunday night. Then they say, okay, you're going to now play on Thursday. North Carolina played on Saturday. I think both those schools probably just stay at where they were and traveled straight to, although North Carolina was in Charlotte, they have a long way to go. But Alabama probably going to stay out west and go straight to L.A. I don't see them beating North Carolina, but I don't see a lot of things. So you never know. They're still alive and playing. So.
Yeah. So, but man, the March Madness is
it's madness. It's madness.
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, I guess the Cinderella story right now would be the NC State Wolfpack, who were the 11th seed in the ACC tournament.
Right.
Won 5 straight games in 5 days. Now they've won, I think, 7 games in 12 days.
I agree with you. That's the a lot of folks had New Mexico moving through. They got smoked in the first round. And that Oregon Creighton game, I don't know if you saw that because these games are on in the middle of the night, but that double overtime win for Creighton really was exciting. And now they get to go to Detroit, where they're going to have a hell of a lot of fans there coming around the lake from Milwaukee right into Detroit. I think the tournament is living up to its reputation. There may not be as many Cinderellas as folks would normally want, but I think you got some great favorites playing. And I think this is the year of the favorites. And
Oakland had an opportunity before they had the last possession before the game went into overtime, and they turned it over. Could you imagine what our show would be like if the Gators had gone into overtime and we turned it over on the final possession?
Yes, I can.
Mistakes happen. Rod wants to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, do y'all think John Calipari gets fired?
No, I don't think he gets fired because of the $30 million buyout. But like I said the other day,
what does that matter?
It doesn't. To me, it doesn't. But that's one of the reasons why he might not get fired. The other one is because I don't think they have anybody in line that they would want to bring in, and I don't think anybody's ready to come in. I threw out Billy Donovan's name just because it sounded fun, and it was the first.
Who's another?
But he's busy right now.
If he does get fired, I do think Billy would think about it.
Oh, he would probably think about it.
Let me tell you who's going to get the first call.
Okay, who's going to get the first call?
Nate Oates.
Oh, Nate Oates. Well, he's been re-signed, so
that doesn't mean a damn thing.
Well, do
you think Nate Oates would rather coach basketball at Kentucky or at Alabama?
Well, listen, they would pay for
saying.
Cal to be removed, and then they'd have to pay another $30 million for Nate Oates to come up. But I think,
just remember who you're talking about. We're not talking about freaking South Carolina calling him.
Yes, it's true. It's true. But Kentucky, look, dude, 4 out of the last 5 years, they have been a non-factor in this tournament.
Right.
A non-factor.
I agree. And, Calipari's using all these excuses. We're a young team.
Yeah,
that's bull crap.
Everybody's young.
The Mitchell kid has played like 6 years at 6 different schools.
Yeah.
They had a ton of older guys. They just
don't play well.
They're a failure.
They just don't play well right now in these tournaments. And it's been this way for 4 years, and the Kentucky fans are losing their minds. And you can call it youth. You can call it just a fluke, whatever you want to call it. But the fact is that at the end of the day, they just don't play well enough to win in this tournament. And it hasn't happened in 4 out of 5 years. And I mean, they're just another program out there. I know they got the name, but does anybody care about that right now? Nobody's talking about Kentucky. So I think we've got what we've got, and I think we're going to end up with chalk in the Final Four. That's what I think.
Robert on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum, says, after watching all 3 baseball games, do you think Jack should be the Friday night starter? I'm going to say no. I'm going to go with Sully, who knows his team better than we do, and they're going to keep Jack.
And they lost that first game on Friday, right? So
yeah,
Cade Fisher did not really overwhelm us on Friday night, and then they won the last 2. Cads, though, if you saw him hitting the ball, he hit some line drives right over the wall that looked like, he was having batting practice. The Gators are fine. They're 4-2 in the SEC, and that includes a win over the national champions in a 2 out of 3 series. So,
yeah.
Maybe, this year has been kind of rough. And I always consider a year at the beginning of football season to the end of baseball season. So we're coming to the end of a year. And football was an abject failure, and basketball, unfortunately, ended sooner than we had wanted. Baseball, this is it. This is the end of the year. And then we get into 24. 24 is going to have Oklahoma and Texas join us in the conference. We're going to have 12 teams playing for a national title this year for at least the next 2 years until they go to 14. I would look very, very much forward to that. The schedule this year in football, we've talked about it, QB. It's going to be very challenging for this team. We don't know what this team's makeup is. We do know who the quarterback is, and that's the first part. You have to know who your quarterback is if you're going to have a chance, and I don't think that's a problem at this school. Not yet.
No. We got all these people now that wanted to fire Todd Golden about 2 months ago. Now they're saying, do we think we're going to lose Golden to Kentucky?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
No. This Day in Sports. Let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put your star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. JC, in 1934, at the first Augusta National Invitational Tournament, which became known as the Masters.
Right, sure did.
Horton Smith made a 20-footer on hole 17 to beat Craig Wood.
Wow, poor Craig.
How about that? 1934. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union.
Wow. The Masters. That's coming up in how many weeks? 3? Something like that?
It's the same weekend as the spring game, so it's like that 12, 13, 14, 15, right around there.
You go. Mm-hmm. Yep, around tax time. For those.
Robert says Golden wouldn't leave Florida for Kentucky.
Well, I don't think he's going to have that opportunity to. I don't think Kentucky's going to hire a guy that's as young as Todd Golden. Whether they should or not is another question. But I think they would go for a bigger name than Todd Golden.
Yeah. Greg says, breaking news, Golden just got another contract extension. I don't know what that means. Yes, he did get a contract extension, but none of that means anything if you go to another job. I don't think people realize that. But we're sitting here talking about Kentucky, and the job's not even open.
True. Right. No, you just brought that up. And, if you ask the casual Kentucky fan, they may want that. I mean, they have fallen. They have clearly fallen. It's not a fluke. They have been a non-factor in 4 out of the last 5 years of this tournament. And they're not somebody to be feared, in my opinion, right now. But they have great players. They do. But they don't win in this tournament. This tournament is unique because, like we said, it's one game, and anything can happen in one game. But to me, you said this was a great season. I would say it was a good season. A great season would be defined by how far and getting far in this tournament. That to me would be a great season.
I just go by what some of the so-called basketball experts say is getting in the tournament. It's a great season. That's your
getting in the tournament, QB. A lot of folks get in the tournament. Colorado, did they have a great season? Maybe to their standards.
Hell yeah, they did. They had to win their tournament to get in.
Right. But
that's a great season.
But Kentucky didn't have a great season.
No, that's different. I mean,
right. So do you want to be Colorado or Kentucky? Who do you want to be?
No, I'm saying is, JC, some schools are like, it's just like if Duke doesn't get to the tournament, it's a failure.
It is.
If Kentucky doesn't get to the tournament, it's a failure. I mean, so anyway, let's switch gears real quick before we let you go. Golf, Copperhead, Cam Young had a chance to win again and blew the last 2 holes.
That guy just can't get to the podium. He just can't get to the podium. He is so talented. He just hasn't won yet, and the day will come when he does, I think, but it is heartbreaking for Cameron Young. This guy is a physical specimen with his golf ball, with his length and so forth, but he can't get over the top. And I really was hoping he would win this time. But I think he will at some point. He's just too good not to. But it's hard. I mean, these players, every one of them on this tour, that top 125 players in this tour, which is the best tour on earth, not that exhibition league over there. This is the best tour on earth, and it is hard as hell to win a golf tournament. And that's why I love seeing these first-time winners so often happen. It shows you the breadth that this tour has, and I just hope this poor guy wins one of these days. But I'll sleep whether he does or not. Believe me.
What I liked about the Copperhead or Valspar, whatever they call the event, is kudos to the superintendent or whoever was in charge of setting up the golf course, because the fairways were 18 to 20 yards wide with rough. And that's why the winning score was 10 under par.
It was normal. It was reasonable.
It was real golf for those guys. It made it hard as hell for them.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And they want to talk about the greens. These guys adjust to the greens just like batters in major leagues adjust to fast pitching. That's not important. What's important is making it the next shot more difficult than the drive if you're just off a little bit, because you should have to be at your very best in a PGA Tour event. So we go to the next tournament, which I guess would be the Texas Houston's. Yeah. It's a Houston Open, and then they get ready to come back back east to the Masters. QB, Houston. Who do you think will make it to the Final Four from this 16-team field?
Well, my Final Four, like I said, I can't log back into my thing, but my Final Four is still intact. I have Houston playing Illinois and North Carolina playing Tennessee.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. And I have Tennessee losing to the Houston Cougars in the national title game.
I've got UConn playing North Carolina, although I hope Alabama upsets them. And I've got Houston playing Purdue, although I hope Tennessee upsets them. And then UConn and Houston, if you can imagine, playing in Phoenix on April. Athletes everywhere, just up and down. I think we're going to be set up for just a tremendous Final Four. It's going to be great. Athletically speaking, it may be better than you've ever seen in terms of the players on the court. I don't know if that gets you excited or not, but UConn has just got what I said. It's UConn's world, and we're just all living in it. I really believe that. It's just too easy for them right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got really good players, and
Danny Hurley. Danny Hurley.
A lot of transfers that are really good players. What's interesting is I had somebody text me yesterday about the Colett kid, the point guard, little white point guard from Marquette.
Yeah,
who's been, I think, the Big East Player of the Year the last 2 years.
Colett. Yeah.
Do you know where he started his college career, JC?
Where did he start, QB?
George Mason.
George Mason. Okay, Patriot.
Think about that.
Whatever they are. Yeah, sure. It can come from anywhere in basketball, man. It can come from anywhere. But this thing is so great to watch. It's one of my favorite sporting events to watch, QB. Anybody who loves sports, whether they're a basketball fan or not, if you just don't love the emotional tear that this tournament has on people, it really is dramatic and it can be very exciting. Those kids in Oakland, they galvanized. They really brought together community. Same thing with Grand Canyon. You had 5,000-6,000 fans traveling to Spokane, Washington from Phoenix. That's a Southwest flight. I get it. It's not hard.
Isn't Grand Canyon a big online school too?
It could be. Yeah, I'm sure it's a commuter school of some sort. But, man, they had their purple out there, and they were all over the arena cheering like hell. And those players were pretty good, man. They had some pretty exciting players, very athletic. You got to hand it to Bryce Drew, but it was a tough weekend for the Drew brothers. Scott and Bryce did not have their best weekend. Baylor couldn't throw it in a swimming pool, dude.
Well, they were missing a couple of their better players, too.
They couldn't throw it in the ocean. But I'm excited. We got 2 SEC guys left, man. I'm rooting for them. I don't know if they'll get past this next round. I think Creighton, Tennessee has a better chance of beating them than Alabama does North Carolina, but anything can happen in basketball, dude. Alabama starts launching threes, and they actually make them. And by the way, Alabama played some defense for the first time in the entire season last night.
Entire season, I agree. They got after it.
They played great defense, but finally. But if they hit threes, they'll stay in it with North Carolina. They sure will, but they could also get blown out, so we'll see.
All right, before we get out of here and get to Scott Carter, Robert says the Florida Victorious message board said Mertz had some good deep balls in practice on Saturday.
Good.
Hey,
that's great.
Keep throwing them. Throw them.
How many you want a game? The over-under on deep throws is 8, right, QB? Is that the number?
Minimum of 8 a game.
Minimum of 8. Remember that. 8. Yeah. I'm going to put a number. I'm going to put the number 8 up here on this podcast from now until September. 8. And everybody's going to want to know what the hell is that 8? And that 8.
Now remember, a deep ball is just not a straight go route. It could be a post. It could be a corner. It could be
30 yards
a wheel route.
Yeah,
many ways to get it down the field.
Yeah.
Also, congratulations to Wyatt Langford. He is going to make the Rangers squad.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he should. And the Rangers have really captivated the city of Dallas. When I was in Dallas just a few weeks ago, I saw Ranger gear everywhere. Actually, I saw more Ranger gear in Dallas than I saw Cowboys gear. That's the truth. So, and the Stars, their hockey team in Dallas, is one of the 2 better teams in the Western Conference. They got a lot of good things going on in Big D, athletically speaking, in the professional sports. And the Rangers are exciting. And Wyatt Langford, that couldn't have been a better pick for him, in my opinion. The culture, everything about Texas and Dallas, Arlington will fit his style. And look at him already being called up to the big time. Good for him. Trenton, Florida, baby. I mean, think about that. What are the odds? So there he is.
Trenton Tiger. All right, JC, have a good day, my friend.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right, that's JC joins us on the Titan Number Hotline. We're going to come back, talk a little more Gator sports, a little spring sports stuff with Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's Eat, Drink, Play, Watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Going to head back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp and our man, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Shane. Just doing well, man, on a Monday morning. Just still trying to recover a little bit from, March Madness loss, but also saw a good baseball performance over the weekend. So good and bad over the weekend.
Yeah, real quick before we get to that, Mark on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, the PGA sets the courses up. It's not the Super 10. I know that, Mark. I was joking. I know they come tell you the heights of the mowing heights and all that kind of stuff of the rough, but kudos to them for making damn Copperhead a real golf course. All right, Scott, baseball, man. They go into the defending national champs home ballpark, take 2 out of 3, run rule them. I don't know if it could have gone much better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected that performance. You know, a lot of the talk going into LSU is what's this team going to be? You know, because they were 12-8 and losing some midweek games, and but for the second weekend in a row, they win a big SEC series, and obviously the bats came up huge out there. With balls were flying out of the park, and then another good pitching performance on Sunday by Jack Caglione, who continues to kind of back up all the hype and everything going into the season. The guy is having just an unbelievable year at the plate and on the mound. I mean, it's going to be hard for anybody to unseat him as National Player of the Year if he keeps this up. But most importantly, I think a very tough environment, and they went out there and they made some pitches when they had to. They got some decent relief pitching, and obviously the offense was humming. So I look at it as a big confidence builder for this team. I mean, they're 14-9, 4-2 in the SEC, so they're in good shape. Other than just trying to win some of these midweek games, that always gets people's attention. But it's mostly just been because the young pitching, just has not come through, and Sully's put them out there. So he'll get another chance this week, obviously, over in Jacksonville against Florida State, and eventually they're either going to start getting the job done, and he'll have something to really rely on, or they'll struggle, and we'll just see, Shane. But again, it goes back to going out to LSU, winning 2-3, first series win at Baton Rouge since 2011, and I think they hit back-to-back home runs, first time since 19 years that's happened for the Gators. They've had a lot of back-to-backs, but not 3 in a row. So a good weekend all around.
Yeah, I guess it was after game 1. I was flipping through the channels all weekend watching basketball and baseball. Was it game 2 or game 3 where Sully tweaked his lineup? And then because I think we got two hits Friday night, correct? But your thoughts, and what did Sully have to say about changing his lineup? Obviously, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, he's just trying to utilize. He'd been batting Caglione up higher in the lineup and moving some guys around. So, Sully's old. One thing about Sully, you followed him. You people out there who follow him close. I mean, he's going to tinker throughout the season. I mean, there's nothing set in stone. Very rarely with him, season by season. And I think that's what makes him such a good coach. He approaches the game like a major league manager. I mean, he lets these guys, I mean, he doesn't coddle them, and they know exactly where they stand. They know exactly where they need to improve, and they know exactly if they're getting ready to have an opportunity to get in the lineup or getting ready to be taken out. I mean, there's no secrets with him. That's why I think, he's such a good coach. And so he's always going to tweak some things to the lineup. And, he got instant results out there at LSU. We'll see if he'll probably stick with that, for a few games if it keeps working. And maybe there's something there long term. And he's been doing the same with his pitching. So I just like the fact that, he's a guy that is always looking to get better, and nobody's job's really safe from week to week. So that's just the way he goes about it,
Yeah, as you said, tomorrow night they play Florida State in Jacksonville. That is one of the more important midweek games. And then you got Mississippi State coming to town for a 3-game series, which they took 2 out of 3 against LSU. But boy, if you could sweep them, that'll really get you going in the SEC. But softball just continues to roll. Gets their first series sweep against Kentucky here at home. A couple of run rules. Pitching very well, but man, they're hitting the softball well also.
Yeah, scoring a lot of runs. 29-4 now. I mean, you knew they were going to have some good offense. Skylar Wallace in that group, but to me, it's all about the pitching. Those young pitchers with Brown and North Rock, and what they've been able to do. And, you look at this program, it's been good for the last few years after those national championships, but it's not quite been elite, except maybe a season or so. And it's usually because they just haven't had that top end pitching. And I think they've got a couple this year. And Tim Walton, he, again, like this Sullivan, I mean, he's always looking for answers, and he's not afraid to kind of put players on edge, and that's why they've been so successful. And I think with this team, I mean, they're just playing at a very high level right now. Like I said, 29-4 sweeping Kentucky, made it look easy kind of. And the schedule will get tougher, obviously. I mean, the SEC is so good. But right now, they look like they are built for the long haul.
Yeah, really good team. They head to Mississippi State this weekend. Tropical Smoothie, live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. That's Tropical Smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. Speaking with Scott Carter on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Had a couple people here have questions regarding the gymnastics team. Was it disappointing with them coming in a fourth place finish at the SEC gymnastics meet? I watched some of that as well.
Yeah, you were all over the place, Shane. But
Dude, I had all kinds of TVs. YouTube TV is the greatest thing ever invented because you can put like 5 different things on one screen.
Yeah. I was just told that recently, and I don't have YouTube TV. I have another service, so I think I might have to change, man, because that sounds like a pretty good tool to use, especially on a weekend like this weekend. And
yes.
Yeah, but to answer your question, no doubt. I mean, I didn't see them finish in fourth. I mean, that was disappointing. That was their lowest finish at the SEC championships, I think, since 2005. And I was not able to plug into that too much on Saturday due to I was out of town. But just read about it. I just it sounds like it probably just a combination of maybe not their best performance. Also, there's always some questions of judging. It seems like when something in Louisiana where LSU won it and it was in New Orleans. So, that's the way gymnastics fans roll. It is something that does factor in. I mean, sometimes in different places. I think what the important thing now is for the Gators to do just to regroup, and it really doesn't impact their postseason outlook at all. I mean, they still reasonable. I still think they have a team that can be one of the Final Four out of Fort Worth, but they'll have to do better and have some things go their way. But yeah, finishing fourth in the SEC, it did. I figured they were at least going to be top 3. I figured it was going to be LSU, Florida, at the top. But yeah, so it was a little disappointing.
I think I ask you this every time you're on here. Okay, so now the SEC gymnastics meet is over. When do the regionals and all that start?
I think April 4th is the next start. So what is that next? It's this coming week. I don't have my calendar right in front of me, but I don't think there's as long of a break as there usually is, and then between that and the finals is usually a couple of weeks. So, so it's just getting back at it, and they'll practice this week and hopefully get all their whatever was off out in New Orleans, work on it. And I think Oklahoma is going to be the national favorite again. I mean, they're loaded. They've been at number 1 most of the season. Unlike the Gators, who lost obviously Kayla DiCello this season while she prepares for the Olympics, I don't think Oklahoma had any of their top performers take a gap year. So that's the difference right now between the Gators and Oklahoma.
Christopher on YouTube says, Shane, I have the YouTube TV as well. How do you get the multiple screens? Is that extra money? I phrased that incorrectly. For basketball, you can put all the games on one screen. You can't do like different sports, whatever. Anyway, I probably phrased that wrong. So if you're watching March Madness, you can watch 4 games at once. But I couldn't watch the 4 games and then add baseball or something like that. But it's an awesome Awesome deal. Dan says NCAA championships are April 18th for gymnastics. Appreciate that. All right, Scott, let's put a bow and wrap it up on the basketball season. Very disappointing. Well, just a heartbreaking way to lose the game. I should say disappointing. It was a heck of a basketball game. As of right now, your guess on the kids that come back for next year. Do you think we lose anyone that has eligibility left to the portal or anything like that?
I mean, I think the big question mark is, Riley Kugel, just because of, he went into this season as kind of the top player on the roster in terms of prospects. And by the end of the season, and, it was addressed during the season, him and Todd Golden had to have a couple of heart-to-hearts. I think he kind of lost his spot in the rotation because the guard play was so good with Richard and Clayton and Pullen. I mean, it just changed the dynamic of the team and the perception of, the rotation. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. He's a very talented player. I guarantee you they would love to have Riley Kugel back if he's playing well and doing what he could do. And I think with, knowing that you're going to lose Zion Pullen, I mean, it adds a mix. But as far as the rest of the roster, it's a good question. I mean, I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think so. I think they built something really nice this year under Golden, and you could just tell that there was good chemistry there with the guys for the most part. And I think, it's good. Walter Clayton Jr. obviously is the guy who, I'll keep the eye on the close. Not so much for transfer, but if he looks at his pro options, and let's see what he does there. But if they can get everybody back that's eligible, and Todd Golden will add some pieces. He's proven that he's kind of got an idea of what it takes to work in this transfer portal era we live. So I like what the prospects are for these guys next year.
Yeah, I do too. I think he'll add 3 to 4 players from the portal and go from there. All right, spring football practice had a lot of people commenting here about Billy talking about Mertz hit some deep balls in practice. How many days you been out there? Have you watched much practice, Scott?
Yes, I was out there a couple of times last week. I was not there Saturday, but I was there all day Thursday. Watched the whole practice. Thursday today, there were some moments, like all practices. Billy talking about Mertz hitting some deep balls. I didn't see that so much. I mean, I saw Mertz make some nice throws. Saw Lagway, just a guy, he looks still to me like a freshman. He's got some passes look great. Others, you could tell he's still learning. I think, to me, this is going to be one of those that, to me, the energy is just different. That's the best way I could say it. I just like the energy, especially on the defensive side. Gerald Chapman, the new defensive line coach, he brings an intensity out at practice that I think maybe they've been lacking. The guy he gets after it, man. I mean, the players, you could tell he's pushing them. And I think that's an area that needs to be pushed. I think the defensive line, it's got to play. It's got to mean more than it has in the last couple of years because that they've struggled up there. So I think those are my main takeaways. So I'll have to look and see what Billy said specifically about Graham Mertz. I know a lot of questions last year about he's not got the biggest arm, but he didn't need the biggest arm, and nobody's going to have a big arm compared to Anthony Richardson the year before. So it was just a battle that he had. So we'll see what it looks like in the fall.
Yeah, like I try to tell people, balls are not thrown. Deep balls are completed at 44 to 50 yards. Studies have been done. He's got plenty of arm strength. He can throw the ball 65 yards easily. We just have to call the damn plays. We have to call them. And you can't just call one and expect to hit one. You got to call multiple. If you go back and you go over the careers of all the great quarterbacks that Steve Spurrier had, and everybody knew we had a vertical passing game, we threw a lot of balls down the field, and I would say probably half of them were called. Not all of them were called.
Yeah.
But you got to throw them. You got to throw them down there. So that's what we have to do. We had a text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line. I just accidentally deleted it. Dadgummit. Because anyway, somebody asks here about Miles Graham having surgery. Do you know anything about that?
I do not. That would be news to me if he did. I mean, he was out there Thursday, so unless something has changed since then, I haven't read anything or seen anything pop up on that.
Yeah. I think the few practices, I've been to 2 practices, and I'm with you. The energy does seem different. I try to tell people, Graham Mertz is going to be your quarterback. I love our running backs. Speaking of our running backs, we've had a couple people talk about, Billy Napier, his culture. You know, I can't think of anybody since Billy's been the head coach getting in any trouble off the field since he's been here. ETN goes up to Georgia, gets a DUI. I don't know what else is going on there. Your thoughts on that? I mean, as JC said earlier, with all the money he's making, call Uber.
Yeah, you always hate to see that. I mean, that's something that, with ETN around Florida, I would always see him around the building there. And he just came across as a good guy. But these guys are under a lot of pressure. So obviously, he made a big life decision to go up to Georgia and to transfer. And, I don't know what the deal is there. If he's got a new girlfriend, new money, new friends, he needs to stop doing whatever he did on Saturday night. That's for sure. Because he's got I think, a bright future ahead. But yeah, in terms of Florida, I mean, again, it goes back to Billy's philosophy. I mean, he's trying to bring good players in, good people into the program. That takes time, and ultimately, you've got to win. But I think he has rebuilt the culture in a positive way. It is time at Florida. I think that's probably the biggest thing he's done. That and getting his arms around NIL. Now it's just we're seeing what's going to happen on the field.
Yeah. So apparently everybody's chiming in here. Miles Graham had a herniated disc from high school, so they are shutting him down. I guess he's having surgery. Let me tell you something. He's probably one of the best high school players I've ever seen in person. And if he was playing with a herniated disc, good gracious, he's a hell of a football player. So they'll get that fixed up. He'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, hope so. I mean, he's young, so he'll recover fast. But yeah, he's definitely a big piece of their plan.
All right, Scott. Appreciate your time. You got any good stories you're working on?
I'm writing something about Tyler Miles. I sat down with him the other day to do strength coach, just to really dig into his past. He's got one of the most interesting stories I've come across in a while. So I'm looking for. I still got to reach out to a couple more people to really round it out. But I'm looking forward to sitting down and writing that one. And I think fans will enjoy learning some about Tyler Miles when it's done.
Well, we appreciate your time, my man. Have a good week. It's a busy time for you guys having to cover so many sports. We appreciate you taking the time, Scott.
All right. Thank you, Shane, and take care, buddy.
That's Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at Gators Scott. Hope you enjoyed today's program. We'll have Buddy Martin tomorrow, and I've got a couple other guests waiting to hear back from them. Have a great day, folks. Take care.